Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the North Carolina Realtors special training on Transact. Glad to be able to connect with you all. We're going to give it just give it a minute or two, allow others to be able to enter into the chat here and enter into the conversation. So we're going to give it just a minute for everybody to be able to join in. But I am so glad that you were able to come in on time. Thank you so much for jumping on the call today. And we're just going to give it just a minute to allow everyone to be able to get joined in. Give it just a moment. Glad that we are able to connect. All right. So we'll give it a moment. Just wanted to, again, make sure that everybody was able to get logged in. I know sometimes it takes an extra second or two. I'm John Ashley, product trainer here at Lone Wolf, and I'm so glad to be able to connect with you on today's very special training call. We're going to talk about connecting with the new Transact platform from Lone Wolf. New transaction management system connects with the eSign solution Authentisign. It's a really great system, and I am so glad that we're able to take some time. And thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to learn more about the platform. A couple things to keep in mind. Everyone is muted on the call and cameras are off. This way, we will not be causing any distraction during the presentation. Unfortunately, I'm not able to provide CE credits for this class, so unfortunately, that's not going to be an option. But in the very least, you are going to be able to get to learn more about the new Transact system. We do have a Q&A section at the very top. It'll say Q&A. That is where you're going to be adding in any questions that you might have. So if you have any questions whatsoever, please add it into that Q&A section. And I would love to be able to answer any questions that may come up along the way. We're going to be going through several wonderful topics. We're going to start by talking about the transfer process from zipForm to Transact. So just how to create a Transact account, essentially. zipForm is not going to be going away for quite some time. So don't worry, this isn't going to be an instant where you're going to log into Transact and zipForm will disappear or anything like that. Nope, nothing like that's going to happen. If you create a Transact account, you will still have access to your zipForm account. That's not going to change for quite some time. By accessing the Transact account, what's going to happen is that you are going to have that new Transact account that you can start using and testing and trying it out for yourself. So that's essentially just to make it so you understand what's going to happen. Again, I don't want anybody feeling like if you create an account, like it's going to cause any major changes or issues with your current zipForm account. Nothing like that, okay? Then we're going to be talking about the home page. It's going to be a single sign-in option there. We're going to talk about creating a transaction in the system, adding paperwork, and then finally setting up an e-sign packet and property phases. So we have quite a few great areas that we're going to be diving deep into within the program. But let's start by talking about how to create a Transact profile. Again, this is not going to remove or delete your zipForm account. Your zipForm account is still going to be available for quite some time. So don't feel like by creating this that it's going to cause you any issues or it's going to take away any of the resources you currently have. You'll click on the blue highlight at the top of the page, or when you create a transaction, it may also give you the option to be able to create a Transact account. When you click on it, it's going to, so this is what it looks like if you want to do it that way. You're then going to put in your email address and hit continue. The system will send you a verification email just to make sure that it's a real email address that you're using. After you grab that code and plug it in, it will either take you directly into Transact itself or it will take you into the Foundation homepage. Either way, you will note that you have access to both Transact. I know this says Transaction Desk, but yours is going to say zipForm. So you'll have access to both Transact and zipForm. Again, that won't be going away for quite some time. So don't feel like because you created an account that it's just going to make the other suddenly disappear. It's not how it works, okay? If you click on zipForm, then it will take you directly into your zipForm platform. If you click on Transact, even when eventually the zipForm platform does get sunsetted, because eventually it will happen. It's going to happen quite some time from now, but it will eventually come up. When it does happen, you will always have access to your zipForm transactions. That will never ever go away. You're always going to have access to those zipForm transactions. So you'll be able to click on zipForm and click on your transactions at any point to be able to see them, go through them, grab all the paperwork on there. And so you will always, always, always have that access to those transactions, even when, quite some time from now, months and months and months down the line here, even when zipForm does eventually get sunset. There's a couple frequently asked questions that come in every single time. So I want to make sure to do my best to answer these questions. First, will transactions in zipForm move to the new Transact system? I think you just saw, yes, all of those transactions are going to move over from zipForm into the Transact platform without a problem, okay? Next, can I complete my active and under contract listings in zipForm? Yes, zipForm is still going to be available. You can still use it. You can still click around in it. You'll be able to do everything you need to do in zipForm. And in fact, the single sign-in option that you have with North Carolina there, where you click on it and it will take you into zipForm, that's also not going to go away. And so by clicking on it, it'll continue to take you into zipForm for now. Eventually, it will get adjusted and move to Transact, but you'll still be able to access zipForm to be able to finish out any transactions, okay? Next, what happens to my saved contacts and templates in zipForm? So there's for those that have created zipForm contacts, there is a difference between contacts that are saved to a transaction and contacts that are saved to the zipForm address book. Contacts that are saved to a transaction, those will transfer over always from the transaction into the Transact system. If you have saved any to the address book by selecting Save Contact on there, there is a one-time move that will happen, moving those contacts over. It's going to be the same with templates. It's going to be a one-time transfer process from zipForm into the Transact system. So it's just a one-time transfer process there from zipForm into Transact. And the final question that I get all the time here, why the change? zipForm is an amazing platform. A lot of you have been using it for multiple years. And unfortunately, that's where the problem comes up. For those that have worked in the software industry or the tech industry, everyone understands that eventually a product does have an expiration date of some kind. The coding that was used to create zipForm and has made zipForm great throughout the years eventually is no longer in use and no longer able to connect with the new agile coding systems that are used for a lot of our partners and a lot of people that would like to connect with our platforms. We have two options with that. We could either take the zipForm platform down and try to rework all the coding on there, creating thousands of bugs and making it so that you'll have so much downtime in the system. We can't do that to you all. And we don't want to do that to you all. We want you to be able to seamlessly continue to use the platforms there, continue to be able to do your forms and everything like that. So we chose the harder path, and I know change is hard, and we are sorry, but the reason why we wanted to create a new system with the new agile coding that would make it so that not only could we take the best out of our zipform platform, but also take the best out of our transaction desk system, the other management system that we have, and combine it together into one amazing system. We also wanted to take all of the feedback and the update requests that we've received throughout the years about zipform and put it into the new amazing system as well. And eventually, we will want to add in a lot of AI resources into Transact as well. So in order to be able to add AI, though, into the system, you need an agile coding system to be able to do it. I know AI is kind of the big buzzword that you hear all the time. Just think about it like this. What if you had a system that could tell you on a form, like, hey, you forgot to fill out this section right here, and you can't move on until that section's filled out. Okay, well, that would be very helpful if in case you're trying to fill something out. Maybe you're late last night trying to get a contract in and you forgot some important details. Well, it'd be very, very helpful. Or how about a system that says, hey, I saw that you added a seller's disclosure. You usually add a listing contract too. That would be helpful, right? So those are the kind of things that we want to be able to add into the system, okay? All right. So there were a couple questions that come up. And I want to go ahead and just answer those before we move on. First, Monica asked if this is being recorded. I'm going to be sending a recording over this to the North Carolina Association of Realtors there, so they will be able to provide you all the recording. A couple other questions that came in. The link to log into Transact. Again, you will be able to see, it'll be at the top of that page there, a blue highlighted section. You may not see that open just yet, but you should be able to see that within the next few days. Next on there, Steve. And Steve, I don't know which representative that you were speaking with on there. They are incorrect, and I apologize. I don't know who you were speaking with, but they are incorrect in their assessment. So I know you were saying on there that transactions should move over, but they were saying transactions will not transfer. That is incorrect. So if you would like to send out an email over to support will definitely confirm that as well. So I think that they may have been confused in the question that you were asking, but that the transactions definitely do transfer over. And I've done this with, at this point, over 100 MLSs that all have seen that happen, okay? And then there is right now no set sunset date. I know a lot of information that's flying around that's incorrect at the moment. There is no sunset date saying that, hey, you have to stop using zipform now. When we eventually set a sunset date, it'll probably be maybe sometime in 2027, maybe. So it's not something you're even going to have to worry about this year. And then finally, and I was going to answer this question a little bit later, but I might as well answer it now since we have a couple people asking about this. DocuSign does not connect with Transact yet. We are working on the contract with DocuSign to make it so it does get connected with Transact. For now, it connects with Authentisign, which is our in-house e-sign solution. I do have to continue on with the training on here. Again, DocuSign, I'll talk about this a little bit more. And then Sharon, Dotloop isn't our product, so I'm not going to worry about Dotloop on there. But yeah, today's training is about showing you what Transact is going to be able to do, how to use the system. We just want you to get logged in and start using the Transact platform, get used to it. We have found a lot of agents really like using the system on there. And many agents have went ahead and moved over to the Transact platform because they like it more than zipForm. It does have a lot of great updated features in there. So let's go ahead and jump into Transact. We have some great questions coming in. I'm very thankful for those great questions. But let's take some time to actually learn about the Transact platform, okay? So when you get logged in, after you've gone through your verification process there, you're going to be able to see Transact and you'll see zipForm on there. You are still going to be able to use zipForm. And when you go to the drop-down menu at the top, you'll still see zipForm on there. That's going to stay for quite some time, as I was talking about. Going to stay on there for quite some time. When you use the single sign in from the MLS, it's also going to continue to take you into the zipForm platform. And if you want to go over to Transact, you'll just go to the little top portion there and select Transact. When you go to Transact, you may see when you first come in Deal Tracker. This is if you've connected with an opportunities tool. This is one of the things that we wanted to do here at Lone Wolf. We want to make it so that our tool, Transact, connects with a lot more systems, CRM systems, and even our own relationship and CRM systems. So if you do connect with a tool like Relationships, you will be able to see prospects. But our main focus here is getting some transactions created, and you can select transactions as well to not only be able to see your transactions from Transact, but also be able to see any of your transactions that you had in zipForm. And again, those will transfer over. And so you're going to be able to see all of those within the system as well. But let's go ahead and create a brand new transaction. We're going to do a purchase side transaction for today's training. I know many of you are probably working on some purchase sides here. You can create templates if you want to automatically add forms and documents and to-do lists onto your transactions. You can import listing data over to make it so that you can pull in data directly from the association itself. One thing that you may want to keep in mind if you are going to use the import listing data feature, if you're creating a brand new list side transaction, usually the listing won't be on the market just yet, right? You still need to get the disclosure signed and the listing contract signed. So I do highly suggest in that instance, don't use the MLS Connect option at the beginning because usually you'll have to use an expired listing ID. Instead, wait to use that until you've actually added the listing on the market and it's active, okay? You could also have a tax resource option. Tax resource, great option there to make it so that you can bring in the listing data from the beginning. Purchase side is great for pulling in from the MLS. Why? Because there's going to be an active listing ID that you're going to be pulling from, right? I'm going to skip this step just for this moment, just because I want to show you that you can create transactions even without a listing ID. But of course, on a purchase side, I normally would be using the active listing ID to create my transaction. Let's do 429 North Carolina Way. And I'm going to call this Sunshine. I don't think you have a city name named Sunshine, but still, when I picture North Carolina, I'm out of Kansas City. When I picture North Carolina, I picture sunshine. So I'm sure many of you think of North Carolina in the same loving way. Let's go ahead and add in some additional items on here. The more information that you include, the less that you have to fill out on your forms. So just do your best to fill in as many details as you can. That way you're not going to have to fill these details out on the forms later. Just plug in as much information as possible. And again, if you did use that import feature there, it would also bring in a lot of these details. Also, it would automatically add a photo if you use the import feature. But for me, I'm skipping it just to show you that you can use the system even without that ID. I just grabbed a quick photo. You don't have to add a photo. I just like it, personalize it here. Next, we'll move on to offer. But let's say, oh, I forgot something on the property information. I can easily back up to the previous step to see the details and make adjustments, and then move on to the next step, either here or up here at the top. I'm going to go ahead and add in, okay, our offer is going to be $450 on this property. Now we're going to turn in today, right? And say, it expires in a couple days. Hopefully it's accepted, but we don't know just yet, right? Don't know that it's an accepted offer just yet. Next, we're going to add in our parties. It will automatically add you as the agent onto the parties for the buyer side if you're the purchase, or it'll add you as a list agent if you're on the list side. Let's go ahead and select Add Party. If this is someone you've worked with in the past, you will be able to begin to type in their details and be able to get them added in. So I'm going to add a coworker of mine, use him as a listing agent on this property. Now, these buyers, on the other hand, I've never worked with these buyers. So I'm going to create new, add a couple buyers on here. Let's do Sandra Lubbock's. Always trying to come up with new names every single day. I don't know if there's any Sandra Lubbock's on the call. I literally just made that up off the top of my head there. Sorry if there is someone named that. And then I can go ahead and save them to my contacts. Again, trying to add in as much information as possible. Then we'll go ahead and select Save. While I'm adding in my second party, I'm going to answer a question from Colleen. Yes, you don't have to add in the property details if you don't know the property details yet. You can skip all of that and just add in your buyers. You just move on from step to step to step until you get to step 4, okay? So, Colleen, you don't have to start with the property. You can just add in your buyers right from the beginning there, okay? Do Ted Lubbock's for my second contact. Now, one question I do get consistently, what if I'm working with a company, LLC, a state? Add the company name under first and last name there. You're going to add the company name under first and last name. And then under preferred signature, you'll go ahead and actually mark on there the actual name of the person. So let's go ahead and select Save now. I got my contacts saved, got them created. Let's go ahead and hit Create Transaction. Excellent. So we have our transaction created. As I mentioned, you don't have to create a transaction at the beginning. I'm working on a purchase side here. And so when I'm working on a purchase side, I may not know the property just yet. Might have to get some things signed first, right? But no worries. Right now, we're going to pretend, though, that I do have a property in mind. Maybe my buyer specifically came to me for this particular listing. They're like, this is the one we want, right? This is the one we need. So what we're going to do is now we're going to just talk about some navigational pieces, and then we're going to dive into the paperwork. Starting on the left, we're going to go to Details first, and I can add additional parties, and I can make adjustments to these parties. If I go back, I can adjust property details. And later on, if I do find out the active listing ID, I can import the property data. I can also grab offer details and make sure to plug in those offer details later on. And by the way, if I only added the buyers, well, then I can come later on and add the property and offer information in there. Next, we have paperwork. This is where I'm going to be adding all of my forms and documents. We're going to be coming back to paperwork here in just a second. So we're coming back to paperwork in just a moment. Next, we have signings here. Signings is going to have all of the different e-sign items on there. So you're going to be able to watch all of your e-sign packets that have been sent out. To do is going to be where you can add and track important action items on your transaction. You can create templates that already have a to-do list connected. So if you wanted, you could create to-do lists and create templates that add those automatically. Or you can create fresh to-do lists with each transaction. There's times that we have special instances or special circumstances that may come up with to-do, right? But there's also the normal day-to-day, add a lockbox, make sure to get the sign on the property, make sure to schedule with the buyer, make sure to get your closing gift put together. All those important events you can track in to-do. Timeline is a great way to keep track of important events. You can even add events onto the timeline and make sure that and anything you add with a date on the to-do list will be added to the timeline. And then history, just keeping track of adjustments you made on your transaction. At the very top right, you'll see 3 little dots. This is where if you needed to, you could delete a transaction. I would never choose this, though, if you have any signed paperwork on a transaction. So if you have something that's been signed and you need to close out the transaction, I instead would just go the offer rejected route, where you can then mark the buyer there as no longer working with them, okay? So again, do not delete if you do have actively signed paperwork with a certain transaction or certain buyer or lister. Let's dive in now into paperwork. The system will automatically create a couple folders for you. You can choose to use them if you want. You can also add additional folders if you would like, so you can organize this in your preferred manner. One way this is a little different than zipForm is that it uses an open folder concept. What does that mean? When I add documents into a folder, I'm just going to grab a test item here. I'm just going to grab a buy-sell agreement and add it. Instead of having to try to search and click on each folder until I find what I'm looking for, instead, I'll just be able to see exactly what's in that folder automatically. You can also add paperwork separate from a folder by selecting plus add paperwork. We have the forms library from the North Carolina Association of Realtors. They have been wonderful in working with us on this. So you can add whatever forms that you need. I am, of course, using a test library. I'm not an expert on North Carolina forms. Don't claim to be. I work with over 300 MLSs in multiple countries, so I'm definitely not an expert in your particular forms. I am a Transact expert. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add in from the forms libraries here what we need. And then we can also upload documents directly from our device. So whatever device that you're using, you can actually browse and grab those files to get them brought in. So I have a couple document items I like to use. Just use this one as an example. We'll go ahead and add one more on here. Grab this addendum as well and get that added as well. After you add items, you can also drag and drop them into preferred spots with these little bitty dots right here. So I can just grab it and drag it and drop it exactly where it needs to go. And then if you do select a file like I just did, it'll give you some options. You want to be able to go to the forms editor or email it or download it or print it. You do that right there. But before we download and print or anything like that, let's make sure to go into the forms editor. So just to recap real quick, we added in our desired parties and we made sure to plug in as many details as we can. Again, phone numbers and stuff. I know I'm kind of skipping through some steps here, but I would even add phone numbers and street addresses, every detail that you can to make it so that you'll have less to fill out on your form. With the property here, I plugged in quite a few details. Again, I would normally add in every single detail possible, right? And be sure to save. Steve over here did make a good point. When you're importing property data, you can use both the MLS to pull from, which is a fantastic resource. You can also pull from tax records, which that's called Record Connect in zipForm. We have something very similar here in the Transact system. So you'll actually see that as an option when you're bringing in data as well. So we have lots of options here. We added in our documents, we added in our forms. Let's click on a form and start to get it filled out. I'm going to grab this buy-sell agreement. Oop, doesn't like me this morning. Hopefully that's not that would be a technical issue on my end, by the way, nothing to do with you all. Let me see here real quick. I'm going to move over to a different account real quick and see if I have that same problem. Yeah, one moment. Again, not something that you all would ever deal with. This is a technical issue on my account that I thought they got resolved this morning, but it looks like they having some issues. Give me just a second to take a look at that again. If this continues, I'll just move on to a different account. Oh, it's working properly now. Perfect. Sorry about that. Again, technical issue, only dealing with my specific type account, and that's because of the VPN firewall that we use here at Lone Wolf was having some issues this morning. So sorry about that. Not something any of you would ever probably run into, okay? All right, so now I'm in the Forms editor. This is going to look very familiar for those that have used zipForm. The only difference is we move the workspace over to the left-hand side. And so you'll be able to choose what forms and documents that you would like for signature. And you'll do that on the left instead of doing it on the right. You're still going to have the ability to add additional forms and documents as well from your different library accesses that you have. Of course, I'm pulling from a test library, but for you, you will be pulling from the North Carolina Realtors there, or you could be pulling from your own office's library if your office has added any forms through our forms team. On the right-hand side, there are some additional options. So like parties here, if I accidentally misspelled someone's name or need to adjust the details there. Listing info, if there's any incorrect information that I need to get adjusted. Offer info, if I need to add additional details on there. Any adjustments that you make to listing info and offer info, be sure to push save so that it will actually save that item in, okay? You also have the ability to create clauses for multiple sections here. So like this additional provisions, I can add clause. So you can actually insert any clauses that you need. And you can create your own clauses as well. I just used a random clause just to show you how that works. But the key is you're going to just be plugging in as many details as you possibly can. So just making sure you plug in every single detail. Now let's talk about document items. Now you may remember I was talking about earlier that you can upload PDFs and documents into the system, right? You can upload them. That's where it says PDF right there. So this is uploaded from my computer. A form comes from North Carolina Realtors there, and you can fill out a form. A document that you've uploaded, unfortunately, will not have those beautiful blue sections. If this is a circumstance, I'll be very, very clear on here. If this is a circumstance where your client wants to fill this out using a good old ink pen, they don't want to see it in e-sign, they don't want to get an email about it, they just want to fill it out with an ink pen. We understand. Everybody's a little different. We do have tools here where you can mark up the document and put computer-generated text on here instead of having to worry about having to write this all by hand yourself. So we do have the markup tools in the circumstance where you have a client that wants to fill this out by hand. And then you can print and download there at the top of the page. If you're using AuthentiSign, you can skip the markup step. Okay. One feature that is brand new in Transact and is really, really amazing. Such a great feature. It makes things so much easier. If you add a document item, again, this is something you've uploaded from your computer, there is a new organize tool at the bottom right. If you don't have a document on there, you won't see it. You're only going to see it if you have, going down here, if you have added a document item. Click on organize, and then you can drag and drop the order of the pages. So that way, maybe you was accidentally scanned in the wrong order. That happens consistently. Or maybe when it was pulled in from the MLS, the listing agent had it all in the wrong order for some reason. You can drag and drop it into the corrected order. Now, this is the best feature of all, though. You can also split up the document into multiple documents by just clicking on this perforated edge. If you click on that perforated edge there is an option to then split into multiple files. Right now, I only have 2 sheets of paper. You can split it into as many different files as you need to at the same time. So if you need to split it into 5 different files, you're just going to click on where you want to split it for those 5 files. I'll click split, and then I'm going to name it. I've done this before, so it hasn't saved from the past. But you'll just title what you would like those new documents to be called. Choose if there is a particular folder that you want those new documents to go in, and then split it into that number of files. You're still going to have the original, but then you will also now have the split files. And if I go back, I can also see the split files within my workspace. Every feature that I've showed you so far, I'm going to take one step back just for a moment. Every feature that I've shown you so far is also available via mobile. You are not going to need to download an app. So don't get all excited and run to your Google Play or Apple App Store. This is not an app that you download, okay? Go to your normal browser window. Google Chrome, Safari, where you search for cute cat videos or you search for another casserole recipe, right? I do that consistently and constantly. Probably grab a couple North Carolina favorites when it comes to casseroles. I know you all have the best. So when you go to your normal web browser, you can log into the North Carolina Realtors website and then click to go to our mobile version of Transact. It's going to be the same single sign-in click button there. You'll just move over to Transact, and this is what it looks like on an iPhone. And you can do everything from an iPhone that you would be able to do from a computer or tablet. So this is a mobile-friendly website. You don't have an iPhone, it's okay. We have Samsung, iPad, Surface. Doesn't matter the device. Every single person will be able to use this on your cell phone, okay? So really, really fantastic feature that's new on here. It is mobile friendly. All right, let's go into now, back into the forms editor where we were previously. And we're going to send a couple items out for signature. So I'm going to pretend that my office has their own exclusive right to represent contract. Of course, you would be using a North Carolina Realtors listing contract. And then we have the buy-sell agreement as well that we have put together. And again, these are just educational examples. Great. Let's now move into prepare signing. I mentioned this earlier, but it's worth mentioning again. Right now, we have AuthentiSign connected. We are working on the contract to get DocuSign as an available option as well. It's not there yet. It's not in Transact just yet. But we are working on the contract with them. They are a separate company. We don't own DocuSign. So we are working with them to get a contract together so that you can also have it as an available option, okay? So this is part of the reason why we want to wait before sunsetting zipForm, and we're going to be waiting quite a while before we sunset a zipForm. But, some key pieces in the program we want to make sure are available, including the ability to use DocuSign. Realtors, if you wanted, you can choose a particular folder for those signed items to come back to. And Kristen, yes, I believe there is. I don't know but DocuSign's a separate company. Okay, so we don't control what they charge. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit create. Now that we've created the authenticated packet, let's now go step by step according to the toolbar there on the right-hand side. So we're going to start by adding in our desired participants. We're just going to pull them in from the transaction. So I went to add participants, add from transaction. Now I'm going to grab my desired participants. I'm going to choose, are they a remote signer, meaning they need to sign something? Are they a reviewer, just saying that, hey, we need to make sure that they have, that they approve it or mark it as not approved. And then CC there is a carbon copy. Go ahead and hit select. After I've hit select there, we'll then have our participants. On my forms from North Carolina Realtors, it will automatically add initials, signatures, and then on your disclosures, it will automatically add things in like question marks, check marks, is what I meant to say. Check marks, it will automatically add the radio choice options. It'll automatically be able to add all those in, okay? So that's one really great item there, is that it'll auto add all that in onto your forms. With uploaded documents like this one, unfortunately, it's not going to be able to auto add, but we have some tools that are going to help us with that. Next, we have docs. This is where you decide what order you want your paperwork in. Next, we have tools. So with tools here, you could do this one contact at a time. So you have Sandra and then you have Ted. So you're dragging and dropping signatures and text lines on there. Let's do this great tool, though, called All Signers. All Signers. With All Signers, when I click on full name, it will automatically add everybody's name at the same time. If I click on email address, automatically adds their email address all at the same time there. If I add date, automatically adds it. You can also drag and drop items onto the document to kind of move it around where it needs to go. Drag and drop. If you see that something's a little too big for a spot, you can also click on it for additional options, including the ability to make this item bigger or smaller. Okay. Bigger or smaller. I'll tell you, I've never seen anybody make a signature bigger. It's always making it smaller there. If you find yourself making this change a lot, save it as a default. That way you don't have to continue to make it small every single time. It'll just pop up that size every single time. Okay. Under each individual signer, there are additional options. We do have the markup tool throughout the product here, where you can mark up all of the paperwork anytime that you need, with text boxes and highlights and strike through. We also have individual items like text lines. This is where the client needs to add text into a particular space. Let's say I have a couple spots here where I need my client to fill this section out. The size of the text in that box is dependent on what size you make the box. So if it's a tall box, the letters will be really big. If it's a short box, the letters will be small. If you need to make this a multi-line paragraph option, there is a multi-line option for text boxes too. We also have, and this confuses a lot of people, radio choice and checkbox. A radio choice is going to force the client to pick one out of multiple options, and they have to pick one. They can't skip it. They have to pick one option. And you can click on it to add as many options on there as you want, but still they can only pick one. A good question that this would show me, like, okay, do you occupy the property? Well, yes or no. There's no metaphysical, the home is where the heart is, right? Either yes, you occupy it, or no, you don't. Checkbox, on the other hand, has two purposes. Either it's one required item, where that red square, red star comes in, one required item, or it can be optional. You can even copy and paste this and give them multiple options. So for example, what if the question is, well, what if you have on here, let's see here, let's say it is, the question is, what is your plumbing made out of? Okay, well, that would be, lead, galvanized, PVC, copper. So in that circumstance, you'd want to give them multiple choice so they can click multiple options, right? Just going to add a checkbox over here for buyer. One more great tool is called Myself. Hopefully no one thinks I'm calling myself a tool. This is going to allow me to be able to add my own signature before I send this over to my client. So I'll accept the terms and conditions. Then I'm just going to create a signature, or I can draw or upload a signature. Myself a nice one. Looks pretty good. Set the signature, drag it where it needs to go onto my document. And I can also do this on my form. So on this form, there is a spot where I am supposed to sign as an agent. Further down the line here. Here we go. So I would be able to add all those items in. I could add the time there. Even use a line here to add what time it is, right? All right, excellent. SW did make a good point. They said they're in the date option. It used to allow you to type in a date. Um, for now, I believe you have to use a text box markup if you want to put to be determined or upon closing. But any of those type of requests where you say, hey, I would prefer this be a text box that we type in instead of it forcing you to use a date, be sure to reach out to North Carolina Realtors for those type of items. And the North Carolina Realtors can then let our forms team know that you would prefer it work in a specific way. Okay. So any feedback that you have about how a form is put together, please provide that to the North Carolina Realtors so that they can let us know if they would like to make that change or not. And Sarah asked a good question. Why did I sign it with myself instead of just adding myself in as a signer? So before we move out of Athena sign, the reason, so if you add yourself as a signer, you're going to receive an email like every other participant where you have to sign it. But if you use the myself, you can just go ahead and pre-sign it before you send it out to the client. So that's why I use the myself on there. That way I don't have to get that additional email for signature. Before I move away from Authenticline, let's talk about layouts because this is going to literally save you hours of work. So I spent a decent amount of time putting this together, dragging and dropping everything in place. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to layouts and hit create layouts. I'm going to name it. So let's say this is my exclusive buyer side I'll hit create. And then the next time that I'm going to use this document, even if it's on a completely separate transaction, different parties, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Instead of having to go through the process of doing all that dragging and dropping I just did, go to layouts, apply the layout. It'll then just pop everything in there for me. And again, you can do this on a completely separate transaction. Let's go to next, and I'll go to send. It sent out the packet. If I go back, I can get back to my window here. Let's take a look at the email that came through. This is what the email looks like that it was sent out for. There was a question about adjusting email signature. We don't have that option just yet, but we will have that option here in the future. Okay, that's something that we want to add in. It's not available yet, but we would like to in the future give you the ability to brand your authenticated emails and also adjust your signature if you want to have something like Realtor on there or your certifications and phone number. Well, it'll automatically add phone number, but if you want to have like certifications or something like that, those are the kind of things that we want to add into the future, okay? To keep track of your listing, you can go to signings and it will be right there. You can click on it to adjust the email address if you accidentally sent it to the wrong email. You can also see if it's been authenticated. Authenticated means that they clicked and they are at least starting to read it if they're not already starting to sign all of the paperwork. So they're in the very least they're reading it, which would be great, but hopefully they are beginning to sign the paperwork. After it's been signed by a person, you'll see it will be marked as approved. If you take one step back in signings, you can resend this to anyone that didn't see the email come in. You can also go to the three little dots if you need to reset the packet. Reset means you accidentally made a mistake. Maybe the address was wrong or just some detail on there was incorrect. You can reset the packet, adjust it, and send it out as a brand new link. After everybody has signed, everyone is going to get an email that looks like this, where they can download all of the paperwork. You will get an email that looks like this each time a person completes their part. And in the system under signings, you're going to be able to see that it's been marked as completed once everything's done. And a final copy of the paperwork is going to go to paperwork. And you'll see where it says signed. You're actually going to be able to see where it says signed there. Now we're getting real close to running out of time, and I want to make sure to take just a second to talk about our newest part called property phases. This is really going to change the way that you're able to do your contracts, offers coming in specifically when you have an offer that unfortunately was rejected or was not approved later on. Let's start first by talking about if an offer is initially rejected. I can click on offer rejected. And then I'm going to decide first, am I still working with this buyer, or do I need to say, unfortunately, this buyer is not going to look at buying anything at this point. Next, am I still working with this agent, this listing agent on this property? Let's say that I am. Let's say that in this instance, yeah, they rejected the initial offer, but we're going to try again. And then I'm going to decide the paperwork that I have, is there anything on this paperwork that is not going to be able to continue going forward? Well, that would be the current buy-sell agreement because that was rejected, right? I'm going to need to create a new buy-sell agreement. Now I'm going to push reset and copy. And before anybody puts anything in the Q&A, this is not deleting anything. My lost deal, that offer that was rejected, will be found under lost deals over here on the left-hand side. And when I click on it, I can find there's that buy-sell agreement. There's the original offer information. And I can even reopen it if they come back to me later and say, actually, we are going to accept that offer. So let's say now I go through that process on there. I'm going to go ahead and add real quick an agreement. Let's pretend I sent out a new buy-sell agreement to the client. They signed it. I'm just going to pretend for a second I have a sample agreement I'm going to use as an example. And then I sent it over to the list agent, and this time it was accepted. Like, yeah, offer accepted, right? But then, unfortunately, something came up. And now it fell through. When it fell through, I now have to decide, am I going to continue working with this specific property? Say, no, we're going to move on. Am I going to continue to work with this property? No, we're going to move on. And now I'm going to exclude any of that paperwork that was connected to that specific property that I was working with. I'm going to keep my forms because we'll use that on a brand new offer that we're going to turn in. But I'm going to remove all the paperwork dealing with that specific property, and I'm going to push reset and copy. It removed all of that paperwork, it removed the property, and it gave me a clean property to start with so I can start putting together an offer for a brand new property, okay? But I could still find the fell through deal right here and see all of the paperwork there. None of that gets deleted or removed. It's right there under lost deal, so I can find it anytime that I need. This also works on the listing side. So with listing side, you can also have lost deals and be able to click and see those lost deals. The only difference being is that when you're going through lost deals on the list side, you're never going to, of course, delete the property information because you would move on from the property with a list side transaction. It's only going to be on the purchase side that you would move on from the property and move to put in an offer on a brand new listing. All right. That is the full process for getting a transaction created in the system, moving over to the new Transact platform, and being able to even see the new offer lost deals option. We do have lots of help resources. The question mark here on the top right does take you to the agent how-tos, admin how-tos, guided walkthroughs. We do have a live webinar every single day of the week that covers lots of different topics. I definitely suggest the Authentisign Advanced Tools or the Templates class if you're looking for something a little bit more advanced. It's going to help you in a lot of areas there. We also have under the question mark the support details. They are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so you can give them a call or send them a chat or send them an email. They are a really great team that would love to help you with anything that may come up along the way. So you can give them a call or send them an email. They'd love to help with anything that come up. This last item's for me. It's just a short link survey. If you would like to fill it out, let me know what you thought about the class. I'm going to answer a couple of questions that are found in the Q&A section that I did miss throughout talking today. So if you have a question in there or you haven't put a question in there, you can go ahead and add a question. I'll try to get as many as I can answered in the next couple of minutes, okay? But it was a pleasure connecting with those that wanted to be able to get connected in today. I know some of you have to take off, but thank you so much for joining in on the class. Let's see what questions that I wasn't able to answer through the presentation. I did mention this multiple times about DocuSign. We are working on getting a contract with them and hope to have it completed here in the near future. So you'll see DocuSign as an additional option. As a reminder, DocuSign isn't our product, so you would have to pay for a subscription to DocuSign. For account creation, unfortunately, we went through that at the very beginning, but I'm going to be sending out the recording to North Carolina Realtors a little later today, and they can provide that recording to everyone so you can see how you can get an account created. This is a platform that's available outside of North Carolina as well for anyone that works outside of North Carolina. Some of you might sneak down to South Carolina to do some business too. And let's see here. For signature items right now, we don't have the ability to adjust signature items or add logos, but we hope to be able to do that in the near future. You should be able to get logged into the Transact system, I believe. If you are having difficulties, you can always reach out to our customer support team. Let's see here. I did mention earlier about forms. If you do have an issue with the form, please contact North Carolina Realtors, and so they can see about making adjustments on those forms. Steve asked what transaction desk is, just letting you know real quick. We do have two transaction management systems, transaction desk and zipForm. Both of those are getting moved into Transact together. And this is, Wendy, just to answer, this is provided as a member benefit, the Transact program. So it's just going to be part of your normal North Carolina dues. So this is a member benefit, though. How wonderful it is that North Carolina provides member benefits, right? And then let's see here. So did mention this earlier, but it's a really good point to mention again. If you do want additional training on things like Authenticine and other such items, you can go to the question mark to check out our webinars. Webinars are really fantastic. They do walk you through every step of the process there. And then I just want to reiterate this. There is not a set date at this point for when zipForm will transfer over to Transact. It's going to be months upon months out. We do not have a set date on this. When we do have a set date, we will let everyone know, but I don't even think it's going to be 2026. Okay, so you don't have to worry. You have plenty of time, and your transactions will automatically move over from zipForm to Transact. If you haven't yet, though, I would say log in a Transact, try it out, put in some test transactions. You're not going to break anything by adding in test transactions. I have had a lot of agents after using Transact say, "Man, this is so easy," and I don't want to go back. I want to use Transact only. And I've had a lot of agents that have tried out Transact say that to me, but you got to try it first. So please give it a try. Get some fake transactions in there. Send yourself some e-sign packets. I think you'll really enjoy the simplicity of using the Transact system. And what's great about it too is that we're going to be able to add a lot of great updates to that system in the future as well. And Joan, let me mention resets here. That's a good question. So if you do need to reset a signing packet, so let's say that there was something wrong with a signing packet. Let me signings here and see if I have a signing packet in here. If there was something wrong, there are three little dots, and one of the options on there is to reset the signing packet. And that's an instance where you made a mistake. Unfortunately, you need to reset the packet. No worry, you can reset it. And then after you've reset it, you'll be able to go in, adjust it, and send it out as a brand new link. Right. I believe for the most part, I've answered any questions. David asks, as a broker in charge, we'll be able to see the other agent's transactions. So, David, you are going to have the same level of access as what you have currently within zipForm. So if you are able to see your agent's transactions in zipForm, you should also be able to see that in Transact. So it's going to be an equal level of access, okay? Well, I see a lot of people have dropped off. Let me see if there's any more questions. Sarah, yes, if someone has signed, you can reset it. The only time you can't reset is if everyone has signed. So if everybody signed, then no, you can't reset. But in the instance where one person has signed and it's waiting for others to sign, then yes, you can reset it. It doesn't mean that they'll have to sign it again, though. Lots of great questions. It's been a pleasure working with the North Carolina Realtors. They really are fantastic. So please be sure to give them a thank you for putting this class together. I hope to be able to do more classes with you all in the future. It's been a pleasure for me. Again, I'm John from Kansas City. Glad to connect with you, and I hope that you give Transact a try today. It is really a fantastic platform that is provided to you as a new member benefit. Thank you all for connecting, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.